Good day. Good day, good day, good day. Cadet. Oh my goodness. It's untwist my tongue. Today is Sunday, February. Let's take a peek. Because 16th, I believe. Let's go down one more. Yes. Okay. Sorry about that. February 16th, 2025. Thanks for being here. Good day, Ben. He's all showered and cleaned and ready to roll. I think it's the third day after the full moon, so there still might be some anxiety left. Hello, Maria. Hello. Let me take these off so I can see. Sister Jeannie, CJ, and Denise. How is everyone? Good. Let's back up here. So we're going to continue again, getting closer to the actual remedy. I was reading, I almost got lost in myself here and forgot the time going over what we're going to talk about. And now we're getting into the really, the whys of the difficulties of why this isn't readily known or so well known. The remedy, that is. All right, so let's get started with Good Day Rising prayers. We had some snow. Thankfully, it wasn't as much as they were initially forecasting, so I think we'll be able to survive it. But it is wet and icy, and I pray everybody's safe out there. Whoever's affected by this storm, it's mostly the Northeast. Do me a favor, put in the comment section or the chat your temperature where you are, and how is it going weather-wise there. Speaking of weather, really quickly, there is without a doubt, there's an increase in volcanic activity worldwide, as well as earthquake activity. And again, I've told you my theory on that, which is based on discerning all the other evidences of truth. So you take truth and you put them all together in a bundle, and you get a big picture. You get a better picture, and it makes sense. So we shall see if the magnetic field is weakening, therefore allowing what some would call gravity to not work so well. So that means that anything under the ground that's being held down by gravitational pull would be making its way towards the surface, like magma, and causing plate disruption, etc. So if things are moving, we're expanding a little bit as the magnetic field weakens. And again, my theory is that this is all caused mainly by sin. We get to that point in our society where we get corrected, and then we come out of this much closer to the Most Holy Trinity, and we behave as a society for a long time, and then gradually we fall into the trap of sin and selfishness, and we forget about the Most Holy Trinity. We block her out and block him out, and we end up having to be corrected again or reset. I'm going to just read. I see some comments come in there. 7 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's cool. It's warmer than here, but it's cool. And 2 degrees Celsius. Oh, they're colder in the Netherlands. Okay, little sun. Nice. The only way I can figure, working the Celsius and the Fahrenheit, I grew up with Fahrenheit, And so we know that 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit freezing. So then I have to adjust my thinking based on that. But anyway, yeah. So let's get to Good Day Rising prayers, and then we'll get into what we do now. I am positively seeing more evidence from people where they are collecting their remedy. Okay, they have big refunds that are being processed by the IRS, and there's ways to go about doing this. And again, that aha moment I had yesterday about the government being the creditor's dependent. Okay, so we are taking care of them. We are keeping them alive, if you will, like a child, like you take care of a dependent child. And I also learned that as a creditor, there's ways to get other forms of reimbursement for work that was done for, let's say, caring for an autistic child as a caretaker because of what they had done to them, and all the care that's involved in that, as some of us well know. It's full-time work, absolutely full-time work. And so as I learn, I share. Okay, let's see. I think that's CW. Good day, CW. How are you? All right, so let's get started with the Good Day Rising prayers. Good day. It is a good day. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostra, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Most Holy Trinity, and in Catholic contemplation humbly venerate the Divine Family. Most Holy and Venerable Trinity, one Divine Family, I believe that Thou art here present. I venerate Thee with the deepest humility. I render to Thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to Thee. O Most Holy Trinity, I firmly believe that Thou art one Divine Family, consisting of Dea Matronam Nostra, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. And relying on Thine infinite goodness and promises, I hope to obtain pardon of my sins, the help of Thy grace, and life everlasting, through the merits of Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Matronam Nostra. O Most Holy Trinity, I love Thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because Thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of Thee, and I forgive all who have injured me, and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank the Most Holy Trinity for the many graces that we receive, and offer ourselves and our sufferings up to heaven and for the souls in purgatory. O Most Holy Trinity, I most humbly thank Thee for all the favors Thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to Thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in Thy service. I consecrate to Thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, that there may be none that is not animated by Thy love, or that would not tend to Thy greater glory. Let us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good, and let us beg of the Most Holy Trinity the graces which are necessary to us. O Most Holy Trinity, Thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of Thy grace. Deny me not Thy grace, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which Thou forbiddest, to practice the good which Thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please Thee to send me. O Dea Matronam Nostrae, Mother of God, I place myself under Thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of Thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O Most Holy Trinity, as envisioned by St. Lucia as the Most Holy Trinitarian Theophany, Dea Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. I am heartily sorry for having offended Thee, and I detest all my sins. because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but most of all because I have offended thee, who are all good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. In nomine Dei, Matronam Nostra, et Dei Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum, Spiritum Sanctum. Welcome to the new subscribers, if anybody's watching. And please also hit the like button and comment on the comments. It's important to learn this discernment and to share this information. You will not find all of this together that we have anywhere in the world. Okay, this is it. And you may think, well, that's a proud statement. I was like, well, after contemplating on it and thinking about it and discerning what we have learned, I can say that. All right, chapter 24, the truth now told. The United States and its subdivisions, okay, and the subdivisions are the municipalities, cities, towns, states, etc., has been operating in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy reorganization since 1933. And since there was not enough gold and silver, money of account of the United States, to back the nation's currency, pay its debts, and enable the businesses of the country to pay theirs, Congress passed laws that replaced the substance money needed to pay debts with the unredeemable paper promissory notes of the Federal Reserve Bank. And I know we've been over this, but it's like I was talking to MHT, it's a repetitive thing that we have to drill in so we get this understanding. Ordinarily, this would have been a gross violation of the U.S. Constitution that requires our currency to be backed by gold and silver coins, but it is not a violation of the Constitution in a bankruptcy reorganization, which is a temporary suspension of normal obligations by law for the protection of the debtor, the corporate United States, from its creditors, we, the people of the United States. Okay, and I'm going to stop there again with a Catholic system. You don't have any of this. When Treasury notes come due, they are not paid, but are refinanced by new T-bills, Treasury bills, to back the currency and cover the debts. You can't do that with debt that you owe unless you are protected from creditors in a bankruptcy reorganization that is regularly and constantly being restructured to keep the organization alive. Congress legislated that the new money shall be backed by the credit of the United States, us, and represent a mortgage on all the property of the people of the nation. So who holds the mortgage? Under the Constitution, the laws of equity, the United States could not borrow or pledge the property and wealth of its private citizens and put them at risk as collateral backing the nation's currency and credit, except in bankruptcy reorganization, where the private citizens become the principals and prime creditors of the United States and its subsidiaries, holding a remedy for the recovery of interest due them on their loan of credit to the public domain. So just think about how much interest they owe us over that long a period of time. And this is exactly what we have in HJR 192 of 1933. That also explains here how we as the prime creditors need to hold them, the dependents, liable or hold them in of account, etc. As prime creditors outside of the bankruptcy, the citizens of the United States, us, the people, could not recover what was due them via Federal Reserve notes without increasing the debt, since there was no longer any actual money of account of the United States, gold and silver coin, with which to pay tangible value substance for anything. Here were the American people at the heart of the Depression in 1933, whose real property and wealth were collateralizing the government's currency and debt, having no way to pay their debts with lawful money of account of the United States. They don't get into why that happened, but there's a reason, and it has to do with the Catholic faith. And it began in the 1800s. And well, it began way before that, but I mean this particular situation. So HJR 192 of 1933 resolved that, quote, a right to require payment in a particular kind of current coin or currency is against public policy, unquote. This resolution allowed the people who backed the bankruptcy reorganization of the United States with their credit, we the people, to recover their equity by discharging debts they owed to sub-corporate entities of the United States by the adjustment and set-off of mutual exchanges against a dollar-for-dollar amount of the United States debt and its sub-corporate entities, owed back to them through drafts, bills of exchange, and promissory notes tendered for that purpose. An arcane system, almost like barter, is still in effect today for those who discover and access it. Accordingly, the definition of legal tender still includes circulating notes of national banks, which have not been legal as currency for almost 80 years. Okay, so it used to be that the national banks could issue their own, well, like FRNs or notes, and it would act almost like a currency. But the definition maintained still includes the holders of U.S. corporate bankruptcy reorganizational debt, who collectively and nationally constitute, and this is interesting, by statutory definition, a national banking association. Okay, the holders, you and I, of U.S. corporate bankruptcy reorganizational debt, who collectively and nationally constitute, by statutory definition, a national banking association or national bank. Since 1933, having the right to issue credit instruments to recover interest due them on the public debt. And if you'll notice, you'll go online, YouTube especially likes to publicize these, and they'll put videos of people in court who really aren't familiar with how, like, they're familiar with it, but they're not well versed in it. And they got themselves into court and they don't know how to really handle themselves. And again, like I said, all these they promote that to make them look silly and how this doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. And again, it's just a matter of anybody being thrown into a venue that they're not familiar with and then being challenged on it. Okay, it takes a special person. Now, they won't show you those ones where they succeed, like in Kentucky when well, we won't get into that, but it happened in the courts in Kentucky. And it's funny because they won, but they lost. And there's so much corruption going on, as you know, that they couldn't allow it to be visible as a success, and yet it really was. The government doesn't publicize this for obvious reasons, and they make it difficult to determine how to do this. But for those who succeed, the government will not dishonor a prime creditor's presentment for remedial recovery via the remedy provided. So I've been getting this internal message, because I'm wondering, what should I be doing? What should I be doing? Because it doesn't seem to be working there at the IRS with some of those notes that I've sent in. But the feeling that I'm getting is let it play out, okay? And what I did learn too from most recently is that for these larger amounts, they are taking their time in processing them. They're not denying them, but they're taking their time in processing them, like 6 months. But it's worth it to wait. And then, learn the process and do it every year. This way you have your remedy. The entire bankruptcy reorganization continues in equity with our implied consent backed by the credit of our assets and wealth, still at risk as collateral for the currency and national debt of the United States and its subcorporate entities. Because the remedy to recover what is due us as citizens is there, even though we are not told that it exists, nor how to access it. Okay, so there have been those who have learned how to access it and are sharing it now. Thanks be to God. There were those who figured it out, and they were charging just ridiculous amounts of money to do that, to share what they learned. And that to me is immoral. Okay, when you have somebody enslaved and you can free them just by sharing what you have learned, and you don't, you're going to be held accountable for that. If the government were to ever dishonor the remedy, it would be a debtor seeking to operate outside of his bankruptcy reorganization plan on the sly, without clean hands, which is a criminal offense. Many of them are doing this and they don't realize that it's a criminal offense, but they're finding out because more and more people are holding them to account. For those responsible could eventually cause the entire government debt to we the people, the holders and creditors of it, to be called due by us. So if it gets to be a point where nobody's getting remedy and they know they're supposed to, that's when we could call the whole thing in, the debt that is, and then shut down the entire government. This is another reason the government is afraid to be on record about our super sedes bond, lest someone says the wrong thing and brings disaster. This is too sensitive and volatile a subject to take lightly. And I wanted to quick mention that if anybody in the world has an account with the IRS, okay, this remedy is usable. Okay, so if they have ever issued you a number, or the Social Security Department or something, and you have contact with them, and you send things to them, again, they are indebted not just to us. The individual creditor or subcorporate entity operating within the bankruptcy who dishonors a holder's recovery of what is due him in discharge of public debt places himself outside of the bankruptcy protection from its creditors and equity, and he is then open to involuntary bankruptcy. Okay, so if you run into these subcorporations who refuse to honor this process, there is remedy, again, continued remedy for us. It's called notarial protest and dishonor. They are non-court administrative proceedings for common citizens to initiate in a private capacity if necessary. Every time the federal debt ceiling is raised by Congress, they are restructuring the bankruptcy reorganization of the government's debt so that we all can continue in commerce. The U.S. corporate public debt is trillions and trillions of dollars. The whole system is like a house of cards teetering in the wind, and there are powerful unseen forces working at whatever cost to keep peace and good relations with the principals and secured parties who provide the collateral for the country's currency, me and you, commerce, and credit, and who hold the first mortgage on the nation to keep all that we have going. Therefore, the processing of these instruments is a very sensitive, delicate, confidential, private matter. The U.S. government doesn't want to have to openly recognize all this, but when put in a position of legally having to acknowledge or deny it, those responsible will not deny it. They obfuscate, they redirect, but they won't deny it. To refuse a standing obligation of the United States would be a criminal act for them. But more, it would place the United States government operating outside its bankruptcy reorganization in violation of law and would collapse the entire financial system built on credit reorganization. Now, I noticed one thing with this Doge thing that's going on. They uncovered that, like, Treasury was just writing checks, passing them out like they were candy. And like there wasn't a 6-month wait for those funds to bust the illegal immigrants around, etc. They're not immigrants, they're invaders. Some of them may be immigrants, but they were foolish because it was all a ruse. Anyway, the Treasury was writing those checks. There's no reason why they have to hold ours 6 months and give these out like instantly, like daily. So in my opinion, though they weren't intending to collapse this system, which it is teetering. And it wouldn't surprise me if the entire cards comes down and chaos reigns. So be discreet about sharing this information with others. These concepts are not for the untaught public. All right, so again, and here's a big warning, and it's true. Just like I mentioned, that lady in the court, she looked silly, and the judge made her look silly. Okay, so don't do things until you've really, really investigated. All right, I'm trying to help as many as I can, and that's why I'm doing this on this channel for educational purposes only. It's not difficult, but you do have to grasp the concept. It's just like when you came to the website and you read all about it and you're like, you took your time before you corrected your baptism and before you did those things. You wanted to make sure you understood it before you acted, and that's what we recommend. But the Secretary of the Treasury and those in charge cannot pay their debt either, for there is no money. To do so would be public testimony, official witness, and admission by the government to the fact that the remedy exists. Millions of people, remember to also at the IRS and in the Treasury and in the government, there are levels of information. So not everybody knows this. Okay, and the assumption is, to assume that they're all just working against us isn't true. They're truly ignorant, and they just don't know. There are certain ones who do, and I would say many department heads, and they will insinuate, okay, go ahead and do this, but they won't tell their people why they should. Millions of people would start discharging their debts against the remedy. The result would be chaos. Okay? Due to the sensitive nature of this constructive trust, so let's do it because we need to get the Catholic monarchy. See, these folks only think that there's an American form of government. That's the only form, but no. So that's why he's cautioning so much. Due to the sensitive nature of the construction of this constructive trust created as a remedy for the secured party creditors of the U.S. corporates reorganization debt, the government will not ever be able to pay it. But they really don't have to. As long as the government does not refuse, deny, return, or dishonor our discharge claims, they have accepted them, and whether paid or not in law, they have permitted our claims of discharge to become legally enforceable obligations of the United States, and the parties and banks involved can legally gain relief through the United States regulatory avenues to obtain more credit or release credit due customers' account. It is not testimony or acknowledgement by the government of the remedy, because their silence does not indicate why they have remained silent. Nevertheless, the government has provided practical means for recovery to we the people, the prime creditor and holders of the national debt. It is not likely that any agency or division of government under the direct or indirect control of the Secretary of Treasury has dishonored by refusing to accept the instrument for which the United States is legally liable. One thing I wanted to mention is if a sub-corporate entity, let's just say a municipality or a corporation, dishonors your presentment, they report it, let's say, on your credit report, that is another violation, and you can very easily get that report removed from the credit report. You just have to go through the process of showing that you did make presentment, the debt is discharged, there is no debt, remove it from the report and show it as paid paid in full or discharged or whatever. Fascinating, isn't it? The evidence of what is happening is all around us in the news every day. It is very impressive, and it is the best for us not to bring it up. Only show that you know it. Just let it be known that you know. I really don't understand why he speaks like that in the book. He's teaching it, so why, in his book, why not share it? Because we do need a new form. All right, I think I'm going to call it for today. And yeah, we're almost into the actual presentments and what they look like, which I know is what you're looking for, which is, what to write, what to say on them, how to make a presentment, okay? And you can look up online, for example, acceptance for value. Do a search for acceptance for value, and look, they'll have stamps. Okay, so under your Google search, click on images, and then they'll show you the stamps that people use, the different kinds, and how to do it, the color of ink you should use, etc. Blue ink for signatures, red ink for notices, things like that. So it's a whole new learning process. If you're young and you're listening, I think it's a fantastic time for you guys. If you're older, it's harder. There's no question about it. Older people get set in their ways. It's harder to grasp this whole thing. But the younger ones are running with this, and I think that's wonderful. All right, let's begin. And for those who do succeed, remember you have an obligation. And there's a concern that you make sure that you stay a Catholic and not tempted to do and get caught up in that part of it. And so that's when you should seek the advice of the older people. All right. Good day, Greg. Deum vobiscum et quoque apud. Oremus. O most Holy Trinity, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, Hanc Immaculatum Hostiam, quam ego indenius famulos tuus, offedit tibi Deum, eum vivum et verum, pro inimiribus peccatis et offensionibus et negligentis meis et pro omnibus circumstantibus sere pro omnibus fidelibus catholicorum vivis atque defunctis ut mihi eridis proficiat salutem. Deum qui humanae substantia dignitatem mirabilitur condidisi et mirabilis reformasti da nobis peruis atque divinum ministerium eius divinitatis esse consortis criminalitatis nostrae fieri natus is paterceps Deum Iesum Christum filium qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem salutaris tuum da paccantis clementiam ut aspectu divinae majestatis tuae pro nostra totius mundus salute cum adore suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu humilitatis et in animo contrito suscipiam morte Deum Iesum Christum et sequiet sacrificium nostrum et spiritu horiae ut placiat tibi Deum matronam nostrae Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni sanctificator Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum et sanctificite plata prosequendo et accapere hoc sacrificium tuo sanctum nomini praeparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas, hanc oblationem quam tibi ferimus amorum passionis, resurrectionis et ascensionis Deum Iesum Christum, et in honoram Deum matronam nostrae et Papa Peter Sanctorum, et istorum et omnium Sanctorum, ut idis proficiat ad honorem nobis autem et salutem, et idi pro nobis intercedit in interncalis, quorum amorem agimus in teris pedi in Christum Deum nostrum. Orate ut meam aquestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat per Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Suscipia Deum Iesum Christum sacrificium de manibus tuis et laudam et gloriam nominis sui, ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum obiscum, quoque pote, sursum corda habemus ad Deum. Gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum et justum est. Dei et clementissimi Mater Pater et Deum Matron nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum per Deum Iesum Christum Filium Tuum Deum nostrae supplices rogamus ac petimus. Uti accepta habeas et sanctificas haec sanctam sacrificium irribata. In primis quae tibi afferimus pro ecclesiam tuam sanctam catholicam, quam pacificare custodire ad honore et regere dineris toto orbiterarum aquae catholicae. Memento Deum familiarum Catuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We especially pray for Katie, Gage, R.M., Neil Monroe Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Letitia, Mindy, Mark Jr., Clarette, Robert Dusco Sr. and Jr., Henry, Barbara, and Benedict Santa Croce, Mr. Nobody, Luis Antonio Cantu, the Cantu and Duarte families, Michaela McLarnon, Sarah and Becky, Jenna, Lena, Lori, Aaron, and family, Maria and the Lineweber family, the Dosco, Nye, Tafour, Began, Wolf, Kane, and all of the families who are watching, who need prayers, and for their intentions. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sedevacantis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for his perseverance. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion, transgenderism, transhumanism, child trafficking, child abuse of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. We pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, medium of exchange with no usury. We pray for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this Catholic society to usher in this monarchy and usher out the errors of Protestant governance. We ask that all quote-unquote gay marriage be banned, as well as all pornography and the OnlyFans platform available on the internet. We ask for a reversal of the feminist ideology and a return to godly femininity, that all women cease working for Freemasons and corporations, and that they attain to understanding the raising of traditional Catholic families is the very highest ideal and a necessity for sustaining peace. We ask for the conversion of all sinners trapped in a state of mortal sin, especially the ignorant. And we ask that all traditional Catholics come to understand the deception of Lord worship. We pray for the wisdom on how to raise animals with good quality natural ingredients, that their harvests may be good and healthy for them to have for their families and to share with their neighbors. We pray for the elimination of all harmful radiation waves in our air and in our homes. We pray for an end to all deception about animal disease. And we pray that you destroy the satanic document of Vatican law that is the Jewish Talmud, that you destroy Rome and the Vatican and recognize the authority of the Catholic Church to be in Fatima, Portugal. Please destroy all forms of Freemasonry and its tentacles that are everywhere throughout the land, and bring the members into the submission of the Trinitarian Theophany through correct baptism and confession. All this we ask in accordance with the Most Holy Trinity's divine will. Et omnem circumstantiam coram tibi fides cognites et nota devotio, pro quibus tibi afferemus, vel qui tibi offerunt hoc sacrificium laudis, proces visque omnibus, pro redemptione animarum suarum prospe salutis et calamitatis suae, tibi credont volta sua aeterno Deum vivo et vero. Communicantes et memoriam venerantes in primis gloriosae, semper Deum maternam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et beatorum martyrium tuorum Papa Sancti Petri et Sancti Luci et Sancti Jacinta et Sancti Francisco et Sancti Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum quorum meritis praecibusque cancedas ut in omnibus protectiones tuae munium et exilio per illum Christum Deum nostrum. Quam oblationem de Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus consecratem ac apta Deum perficere dignitis ut nobis corpum et sanguinem fiat didictissimi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum, qui pridie quam pastoretur che peta panem in sancta sacramentis manus suas, et derivatis oglis in calamite Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit, frege didique illumis vidicens accipite et mondicate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Simili modo postquam ceremonia est accipienser hunc preclarum calicem in sancta sacramentis manus suas itim tibi gratias agens Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, consecrave didique illumis vidicens accipite et bibite ex eo omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis effundetur in remissione peccatorum, aequates cum perficeritis in me monofacietis. Unde et memores Deum nostro virtui, sed plebs tua sancta iustum Christum filium tuum Deum nostrae, tam beatri passiones nec non et ab inferis resurrectiones, sed et in caelis gloriosae ascensiones offeremus, praeclarae maestati tui de tuis donis actatis, supra quae propitio axere nuvutu respicieri digneres. Supplices teragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ibi hic per manus tuum ut quod, executaris participationis sacrosanctum Deum Filium tuum, corpus et sanguinem sincerimus, omni sanctificatione caelis et gratia Dei per amor per innum Christum Deum nostrae. We pray for those who have died. We especially pray for Joan Chapuzzi, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsistem et omnibum in Christum quis gentibum locum refugeri Lucas et pacis et dodor gesta pracamur per in Christum Deum nostrum. Per quem hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivicas, consecratis et praestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso est tibi Deum Mater omnipotente in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Dea, Maternam Nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum Tecum, sanctam tuum in mulieribus Dea Maternam Nostrae, Materam Deum Iesum Christum, ora pro nobis peccatoribus nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quae sumus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ab omnibus malis, praeteritis praesentibus et futuris, et intercedente beata gloriosa semper Deum Materam Nostrae, cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis da propitius pacem mendibus nostris, ut ope misericordiae Tua aduiti et peccato, simul semper liberi et omni perturbatione secori. Per eundem Deum nostrum Iesum Christum, Filium Tuum Deum nostrum, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum Iesum Christum sit semper vobiscum et quoque apud te. Haec mixtio consecratio corporis et sanguis Deum Iesum Christum fiat et gependibus nobis in et salutem aeternam. Pax tecum et quoque apud te. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum Maternam Nostrae, qua prande Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum per mortem Tuum unum vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacro sanctum corpus et sanguinum Tuum abonus iniquitatibus meis, et universis malis, et fac me Tui semper in harare mandatis et nunquam separare, permittas, qui cum eodem Deum Maternam Nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum vivis et regnam aeternam, perceptio corporis Tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego in inius sumere praesimo non mihi proveniat in ilicium et condemnationem, sed pro tu pietate prosit mihi ad tutamentum mentis corporis, et ad me delam percipiendam qui vivis et reinas cum Deum Maternam Nostrae, in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem calestum accipiem et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Dea Maternam Nostrum non sundinius, uditus obtetum meis, et hantidic verbos napaternam mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sundinius, uditus obtetum meis, et hantidic verbos napaternam mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sundinius, uditus obtetum meis, et hantidic verbos napaternam mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima mea. Quid retrubum Deum Iesum Christum, pro omnibus quae retrubit mihi, Calicem Saitaris Equipium et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Invocabo, laudans invocabo Deum matronam nostra et ab inimicis meis salvacero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet animam tuum. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet animam tuum. Codoris sensimus Deum Iesum Christum puramente capiamis et immunite parafit nobis remedium sempiternum. Corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum quod sanguis quam potare et heriat visceribus meis apraesta, ut in me non remaniat scelera macula quem purat sancta efficerum sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, oremus. May the prayer of these suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids, we beseech you, most holy Trinity, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, ite miseas. Deum gratia. Placia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis meae, et praesta ut sacrificim quod oculis tuae maestatis in unus opteri tibi seta captabile mihique, et omnibus pro quibus idut optolis iti miserante propitiabile per Christum Deum nostrum. Sanctificat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam et Filium et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. O most holy Trinity, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most holy Trinity, Deum Matronam Nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Deum Iesum Christum present here, in reparation for the outrages, sacrileges, and indifference by which he himself is offended, and through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and immaculate heart of Deum Matronam Nostrae, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do. Thanks, Greg, for giving them some strong advice. Yeah, we look forward to getting together, Greg and I, to perform the ordination, for Greg to get started. That's I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be great for what we're doing. It's like that thing in the crowd when they say, it takes one person to stand up, and then the second person is the most important one to stand up with the fool. So I was the fool, and Greg is that most important person, so that everybody feels comfortable now to become a priest of the most holy Trinity. All right. Please go and sanctify all those you meet. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. Have a great day.